Howdy folks, this is Big Sam. We've had a lot of people here on the channel expressed interest in these Mosin Nagant KPYK chassis systems, and especially given the fact that there's not a lot of good information on these chassis online. Today we're going to go through an in-depth unboxing video to show you what you actually get for your money, because it is quite a lot of money. This is about the most expensive stock system out there for the Mosin Nagant. And then we're going to go through a kind of a basic and relatively quick assembly guide to the chassis itself. Not all of the cool bells and whistles that we've got on it today, but just the chassis, because what you'll find is that it's actually pretty simple in a good way. So without further ado, guys, let's get to it and see what you get when you purchase a Mosin Nagant KPYK chassis. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and unbox this rascal. This is the KPYK, which is Ukrainian for raven. In Ukrainian you would say this kruk. And this is packaged and produced all in Ukraine, or, well, at least was before some bad things happened, unfortunately. So we can see here, proudly and responsibly made in Ukraine. I don't know how many more of these we're going to be getting, unfortunately, but I hope we get more in the future. You can see here, this is packaged very nicely. I'm going to go ahead and probably just leave this little skin on here because I can try to pull this out from the side, and if not, then we'll just take it off. So let's see here. I think I'm not very good at puzzles, and y'all know that. We may actually need to remove this because I think this opens up like this. So what I'm going to do is get my trusty knife here. And we're just going to cut this guy right here. Alright, let's get this out of the way. Now we should be able to just open this guy up. Look at that, folks. That wasn't too bad at all. Wow, this is packaged very nicely. Oh, and I like these instructions. Look at that, that is cool. So you get a 12-month warranty in case of detecting a manufacturing defect. They will replace the unit free of charge. I don't well, at this point, I wouldn't bet on that. This company, Kruk, is actually based in Kyiv, which is not really a good place right now. So I don't really anticipate there being much of a problem, though. These are exquisitely fine chassis, as we're going to see here. Now, this does give you some really nice instructions about how to disassemble your rifle and remove the stock. Now you'll notice here, one of the things this calls for is actually removing the rear sight base. Now generally on a 9130 rifle, you're going to have these two pins holding it. So you'll punch those out, and then depending on your rifle, some of these will be soldered in, and some of these will not be soldered in. So you're either going to have to hammer this off or really hammer this off, depending on what yours is, but not the end of the world. And what's nice is, assuming you keep those parts, make sure if you take this off to keep the rear sight base and the pins, because you will be able to put it back on. But you want to keep those parts, because if you lose the pins, that can be a problem, and if you lose the sight base, that can be a huge problem, because the sight base holes tend to be a little bit different on rifles. So if you had to get a different sight base to try to put back on your rifle, it may not work quite right. So definitely keep that if you're planning on doing that. Field stripping installation. All right, I don't think we need much of this, but look at this. They did a really good job with this. I'm highly impressed already with this. Compatible with most M1891 rifles. I believe they're just referring to the Mosin, not necessarily the M91 variant, because then they say including these variants, the 9130, M38, and M44. This would probably work on an M91, but, well, I guess we'll have to figure that out later. So let's see what we have in here. Okay, so they give us a wrench set. Let this device will be useful for you. I love this. This is awesome. Okay, so maybe this is a set of Allen wrenches? I think so. Looks like this is basically just a mini version of this box. That's actually really cool. So how do I get this guy open here? I think I can just, if I can pull on this. Yeah, it looks like there's a seam right there. No, that's not gonna work. Maybe what I'll do is just cut that open. Yeah, because see, this is just covering up the seam. Okay. Well, we'll open that later. Let's see what else we have in here. They really did a good job packaging this. Okay, so this does come with a nice set of Picatinny rails, so that's really cool. For 7th series. Let this device be useful to you. I think it will be. And, of course, this is M-LOK. Sorry for those of y'all who are big Keymod fans. I guess you can get a conversion kit if you really wanted to. All right. There's our beautiful rail right here. Look at that. I can't emphasize enough how nice this is. This is probably the nicest set of anything newly produced that I've ever seen for the Mosin Nagant. I'm hugely impressed by this. The quality, it just feels really nice in the hands to hold this. And just from a visual standpoint, you can really tell that this is not cheap to make, nor is it cheap to buy, but they really did a good job manufacturing these. And of course, this is a Cerakote, which is even better. We don't usually get to associate Cerakote with Mosins, but today we do. How cool is that? Let's try to get this guy open here. It's kind of like a saran wrap this is coated in, but and they did a very nice job making sure. I mean, this is Cerakote, so it's, you know, it's probably not going to rust or anything, but they still did a really good job of packaging this really well. Appears to be done very nicely. A lot better than I could have done. You know, some people, when they manufacture these parts, they don't really care about the packaging and fit and finish of the packaging and all that stuff for the shipment. Not so here. You can tell that Kruk is really one of those companies that cares about all of their really everything they do, which is cool. And now some of y'all might be thinking, well, now you sound just kind of like a shill for them. Well, they're not paying me anything. They're absolutely not paying me anything. I just picked this up for my own free will to see what this is all about. And I have to tell you, I'm already very impressed. All right. We're slowly getting this guy unwrapped here. This really does remind me of Thanksgiving with all this, like, saran wrap. Remember all the leftovers from Thanksgiving? And you gotta saran wrap them all. And then when you want to eat them, you have to unsaran wrap them all. And then by, like, the next day after Thanksgiving, there's just, like, 20 pounds of saran wrap amassed in your kitchen. And you wonder just, like, how did we get to this point? That's kind of what this reminds me of. But, again, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. That means they care. Look at this. And this feels so nice. Oh, yeah. Look at that. I mean, I think the camera does a pretty decent job of covering the actual look and feel of this finish. But, man, this is really well built. You can see how nicely they did a job of this. Amazing. Okay, this is going to be for our mounting screws, which we'll see later. So I'll set this rail to the side. All right, now here's the actual chassis. Some of y'all might notice by now this does not come with a grip or a stock. And that's because this takes a standard AR-15 style pattern or grip, as well as an AR-15 style threaded like buttstock in here. So they're basically giving you a good framework to make your Mosin really cool, but they're also giving you the ability to customize this to be the way you really want it to. And so that's another good aspect of this. And it also helps to keep the cost down because this is already a pretty expensive chassis. This is basically the most expensive stock system I think you can really get for a Mosin right now that I can find. And it would be even worse if you had to also pay for the stock and the grip. So that might have been a factor as well. They might have looked at it and said, well, the cost is already pretty high, so it really doesn't make a lot of sense for us to include those parts, especially because, I mean, how many of us have like standard AR grips or stocks or something laying around, or they're everywhere, right? I mean, there's so many different things that use them now, and like 9mm AR carbines, and there's all sorts of stuff that uses AR pattern grips and stocks. So I thought that was actually a pretty good idea on their part. I think it makes a lot of sense. It'd be nice to have a stock if I didn't have one or anything like that, but yeah, I think it actually makes more sense to just not include one here in this case. Again, one of the great things about this chassis is that it's really customizable. You can really design this around your particular scenario or use cases and just make it look exactly how you like it. All right. Come on, baby. We almost got her out of this. Look at that. The attention to detail on this is just incredible. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to talk down to the American manufacturers for like ARs and stuff, but especially because I'm mainly a Mosin person, but this is pretty much the nicest thing I've ever handled. Wowzers, guys. Look at this. The craftsmanship is impeccable. It almost looks like this was designed by someone who actually cares. So as you can see, we've got this nice latch here for a detachable magazine. Now this, of course, takes Archangel magazines. Now one caveat with that is, and they state this on their website, that you actually have to make a little bit of a modification to the magazine. And I think it's on this side. Because I don't think this fits out of the box exactly. I think you may have to make an adjustment for the interrupter or something. Okay, well it does lock in there, as you can see. It appears to lock in. Once we have the gun in, though, the interrupter may have a bit of a problem clearing that, so we'll just have to find out. But look at that, guys. Yeah, there's a little bit of movement there, but it might actually, I don't know, it goes up and down, but that's really not a big deal. I mean, 8K mags have a lot of wobble to them as well, and those work pretty well. Wow, this is really nice. Okay, so we've got our chassis here. We've got our rail. Now, the way the rail works, we can see we've got these two holes here. Looks like what we're going to do is line this guy up here. So you can see these holes out here are going to line up with the holes on the inside. So these holes right here are going to be threaded. Yep, those are threaded. So it's going to attach like that. So we're going to want to take these bolts out because they're going to need to go down through here. And if you're wondering what this is, well, this of course is going to be one of our two really critical bolts, and this is going to bolt into the bottom of the receiver to help hold it in place. And this, of course, is going to be the other screw. It's going to go down through the tang, and that's going to hold it in place as well. All right, and of course we've got our rail set and our wrench set. Let's go ahead and get these guys open real fast. All right, so we already got these guys open now. So here's our screw set. Let's see what all comes in this. Okay, so this is really interesting, actually. So I haven't looked at this before. It says for pistol grip. And it's even in English, that's nice. Okay, now this says chassis. So this is going to be your screw for the AR grip, which is going to go in there, obviously. So that's cool that they actually bothered sending that even, because they didn't send the grip, but that tells you that it wasn't an afterthought that they didn't send you a grip. It's that, well, it's to keep costs down and let you go with whatever you want to, because it's a standard AR grip. Now here's the chassis screws. So here's what I think we have here. We've got these little screws, and it looks like they have 3. I'm guessing they give 1 extra. These little screws are going to be for here and here, I believe. Because remember, the screws on the bottom are already installed here. And then this big fat screw is going to be to bolt the receiver down here at the bottom. And then the longer one, this guy right here, is going to be to go down through the tang and secure the receiver here at the back to the chassis. So it looks like that's what we got. And we've got these really nicely, what is this, anodized? I don't know. Hex key set. That is one mean rascal. Look at that. Yeah, they didn't even skimp out on the quality of these. These are not very cheap either, so that's really cool. Okay, so that was our tool set. Now here we've got our Picatinny rail set. Now remember, this is M-lock. This guy is. So we open this up. Oh, we even got a little instruction booklet. Make sure the weapon is unloaded. And that's, yeah. That's if a politician is trying to install this set. They need to know that, because they may not have known that before. Choose the mounting position, M-lock, increments of 20 millimeters. I've actually never used M-lock before. The first firearm I've ever dealt with even that uses M-lock is a Mosin Nagant. This guy. Imagine that. That's pretty strange. Okay. Tighten the screw, make sure the T-nuts are in the correct position. Okay, well, that's how M-lock works. Service life unlimited. In case of detecting a defect, the service life of a product will be replaced with a new analog or make a free repair. Again, that's sort of irrelevant given the state of Ukraine at the moment. Well, let's see. Oh, now this is cool. So these are actually, they even bothered Cerakoting the M-lock rails. And look, they even have the Crook Raven design on here. I mean, I know this is expensive, but I mean, come on guys, this thing is just so cool. So it looks like they give us 3 of these. And one side's flat, so I think the idea is that you can set them up back to back like that, perhaps. That's pretty cool. Or just have one. So you can do side, side, bottom. I mean, look how many angles are there on here. This looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is this an octagon? Yeah, this is an octagon. So there's 8 sides. Boy, I tell you, we're going to do some very horrible things with this. I can promise you that. But in the best way possible. I just got to pull this out to look at it, because, man, this is just cool. Man, the finish on this is just impeccable. Now, this one is a little bit different. Right, this one's got this little hole here. These other 2 do not have that. See that? Okay, so that's the difference there. But otherwise, it's the same length overall. Alrighty, so now that we got this unboxed, let's try to put something in this, shall we? Now remember, the rifle we need to put in here ideally has no rear sight base. Thankfully, we've got a rifle matching that description. Laying around, we had this Yugoslavian original PU sniper barreled action, which has no sight base. So, while we're not going to be able to put a PU scope on this whilst being in this chassis, kind of ironically, I guess, we're still going to be able to get this guy loaded in here. So this should be pretty simple. Now, the first thing we're going to do is make sure this is unloaded. So it's kind of hard to see on camera, but I'm going to check it, and it is clear. And it's also good we don't have a bolt in here. Extra safety precaution is always a good thing. So we can go ahead, actually, and take our chassis and just bolt this into the chassis. And then once it's on here, we can put our rail and attach it over it. Alrighty. Now I'm going to double check one more time to make sure that's what actually, well, there is an instruction set somewhere. Okay, here it is. Yeah, see, so you put it in the chassis, and then once it's in the chassis, see, this looks just like ours. You put it over it. Really simple. Alrighty. So, I can just take our barreled action here, and we are safe, it's unloaded, and we're just going to set it down in here, into the chassis, like this. I'm going to see how well this fits. I'm not sure exactly how well. I guess you can't really see that on camera. First thing, you want to make sure it sits nice and flush down here. This little base here. And then at the back, we want to see if we can get it pressed down in there. And as you can see here, it's a little tight. Now, one of the problems with these wartime production receivers is the tolerances can vary a little bit, so you can see that it's very tight. I'm not exactly sure how well we're going to get this to fit, or if I can get this to fit with a little bit of coaxing. Where's my, maybe I can try a plastic mallet. This guy. See if I can beat him into here. Well, he kind of is going in there. Now, another thing we can try to do is when we tighten the screw, that tension will actually seat it in there further. So that's another thing we can try. Let me go ahead and get my screws in here and see if that's going to work for us. I'm really glad they give this to you. That's really nice. See, that fits in there very well. I may need a bit of help here. Okay, where is my... I think, yeah, there, I think it's just getting started there. Let me get my hex key set out. Alrighty. We don't want to get this super tight, remember, because that's probably good for now. We want to get this guy here in the back. We're going to see if it's in far enough we can get the threading started on this, and if not, we'll have to beat it in a little bit more. And unlike the standard, your standard Mosin Nagant screw back here is going to be a flathead screw. This is a socket, so it's going to be a lot easier to get this in. You get a lot more grip on the screw, which is nice. I think that is threading, which is good news for us. So I'm going to get my, I guess if there's the baby bear and the papa bear Allen keys. This would be the mama bear Allen key. In the middle. All right. Let's see if we can get this guy in here. Got the thread started. All right, so it is started and it is going in there, as you can see. So that's a good sign. The idea is once we get to a point with enough tension, when we tighten this, it's actually going to start to sink the receiver inside the chassis, because it's a pretty tight fit. But I think we can get this to work. Now to get this back out again, we may have to beat this out, kind of like we kind of beat it in, but I think that's okay. That's not the worst thing in the world. Come on, baby. Yeah, it is pretty tight here, but you can see it's sinking in there pretty nicely. So I like to see that. It also appears there's a little cutout here. Looks like that's for your if you put a Timney trigger in here, you'll have a safety coming out. The Archangel stock has a similar cutout, but that was a nice thought as well. Because a lot of people spending this much money are going to want to use the best trigger, and as far as I know, the Timney is definitely one of, if not the best, precision trigger for the Mosin Nagant platform. All right, so yeah, that works pretty well. Look at that. So it was really tight and it didn't even look like it was going to fit, but as with all Mosins, you can get it to work with a little bit of elbow grease, the right tool, and a hammer. Oh yeah. So that looks pretty nice, and we got this in here. Again, it's not super tight, so I can go ahead and tighten this guy some more. This guy, as you can see now that we tighten this is completely loose now. So here we go, we can tighten this guy some more. And I mean, this is another thing about accuracy. You can get so much more tension on this screw with a hex wrench like this than you could with a little flathead screwdriver. And I can't tell you how many times I've stripped out the screw head from a flathead on a Mosin screw before. It's inevitable, right? It's bound to happen. This is a much better system for precision, repeatable accuracy. This is already going to be a big improvement for accuracy. All right, so now what we can do is go ahead and get on our rail system. So all I got to do is slide this on over the barrel. And you can't see it, but I'm slowly sliding it on from the muzzle end towards, I guess, where you are. All right, look at that. She's coming on, guys. All right, now I do need to, there we go. I do need to remove these guys. Which one are these? Oh, these are the same hex key size, so that's actually going to make this really nice. Oh yeah, so I'm just take these guys out and we'll put them back in. Not exactly sure why these were in here installed already instead of in the packaging, but I'm sure there's a good reason that I'm not thinking of. All right. Now it looks like there's something in the bottom I want to see. No, I think that looks just like an insert. We'll see if that comes out, if I take this out or not. We will see. All right. Just get it started, and then I should be able to pull this out here with my finger. All right, she is coming out, folks. Oh yeah, there's this little insert here on the other side that I think these thread into. But see, that's retained. You can't quite see it here. There's another little screw there that we're not going to take out. That's what's retaining that whole thing. So shouldn't have to worry about that. All right. So now we've got this guy on here. Going to just kind of slide him on there. Now it's nice, you can really feel it slide on, and you can see these guys are lining up here, so that's excellent. It's exactly what we want there. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So kind of want, let's see the best way to do this here, because it's still moving around on me. I want to get these, I want to get one set of screws secured here. What I'm going to do is actually prop up the barrel on this side with the magazine. And then that way, yeah, there we go. And see, that way it's not moving around completely on me. Okay. Let me make sure this hole's lined up, and then I can just get one of these screws started in here. I'm making this look a lot harder than it is. I mean, really, one of the things I can't stress enough about is how simple this whole thing is. Just a few screws. I mean, this is a really good, a really clever design overall. I am thoroughly pleased with this. And I haven't even got this out to the range yet. This is pretty cool. All right, just get this guy tightened in here. Look at that. Easy peasy, guys. So now we just need to get these two screws in here, but other than that, not a big deal. Now, some of y'all might be asking, well, you have no sight, so how are you going to shoot this? And that's a good question. So we're obviously not going to go shoot this today. This is an unboxing video and kind of like an installation instruction video. But what's interesting here is that we don't have any like actual scope mounts. Well, I mean, I don't think we can actually fit a PU base on here, unfortunately. But what we could do, one option is to drill and tap this. Now, this is an original PU sniper. We're not going to drill and tap this. But if you have one that's already drilled and tapped like back here, you'd have your mount here. Another option that we're going to look into is mounting a scout scope. And the way you do that is you have your M-LOK rail up here, Picatinny, and you'd mount your scout scope, long eye relief scope up here. Now, that isn't optimal because you're mounting it to the chassis instead of the actual rifle itself, theoretically. But some of y'all might be interested in doing that. So because of that, we're going to go ahead and try that. And in a future video, we'll try to get some accuracy testing going, just so that we can kind of get an idea exactly of what kind of accuracy can you really expect from like mounting the scout scope to the chassis. Because what this has going for it is you can really secure this whole thing to the gun. So it's not going anywhere, which is good. That's what we want. So that it may actually work for us, but that remains something that we're going to need to test further. And obviously this guy doesn't have any internals. He has no trigger installed or anything like that, so shooting this as is would be a bit of a problem. But again, this just sort of helps to show you all the installation. Now from here, right, we could put our pistol grip and our stock on and all that. We can even put our muzzle brake, a bolt-on muzzle brake on here if we wanted to, and put all sorts of cool gizmos and attachments. Right now, this is absolutely 100% free-floating barrel system. Absolutely. And that's what you would hope for the price like this. So you can definitely, and it's recommended that you put like some kind of bipod here on the bottom, or even like a vertical foregrip. Or maybe one of my favorites, the grip odds, the legendary grip odd that's the grip with a deployable bipod. If you've seen this channel, we have one of those installed on the Mosin named David Chipman. So we could put one of those on here as well. But man, I can't stress enough how much I like this chassis. And of course, flat dark earth is my color. There's just nothing better than flat dark earth. This actually will probably look pretty nice next to that a Glock 19X. Maybe we'll showcase that in another video. So thanks for watching, guys. I really hope this gives you a better idea of what to expect when receiving your Ukrainian Kruk Mosin Nagant chassis system. Now these do come in other colors. You can get black, I believe, and OD green, but of course flat dark earth is the only option. And you'll also see here there's a little notch. This is supposed to be for if you have a turned down bolt. So this, we'll have to try it with some different ones to see which ones work. I don't know if this will work with like an ATI, but it might. We'll just have to try it and see. Again, they really thought of everything here. What a cool design. Now, some of y'all might be wondering, well, why do they make it so where you have to remove the rear sight base? You know, that seems like a lot of people may not want to deal with that. And I understand that. But here's the thing. You're paying so much money for this chassis that this is really more suited for the kind of person that may not mind really modifying their rifle, because this is so heavily focused on accuracy and precision that it's kind of expected that you have a really nice drilled and tapped receiver and scope setup installed back here already. So again, that's kind of more who this is tailored to. But again, this is also tailored to anyone that likes cool Mosin stuff. And we're going to see how well that scout scope system is going to work. So again, stay tuned for that. Now, one other potential thing here is we'll have to maybe do some experimentation with this in the future. You might be able to drill and tap. This is weird, so bear with me. Drill and tap this for a replica PE scope setup. Because some of y'all might be saying, well, I don't want to go with that modern look. Well, if you don't like the modern look, this chassis is probably not for you. But one of the weird things you could do is install a replica PE sniper setup on here, because that, remember, you drill 3 holes on each side of the receiver here, and then that gives you this dovetail mount on the top where you can put your scope. So you may actually be able to do a PE scope setup on here, but I think you'd still have to remove this rear sight base. But that's just another option to keep in mind here. There's a lot of cool options for something like this. So again, thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this. I know I did. This was something I've been wanting to do a review on and take a look at for a really long time. And I'm glad we were able to get one of these given everything that's going on in Ukraine right now. So, and I really am praying for all the guys that work here and in Ukraine, because this is an amazing product, and I really hope that we get to see and continue to see in the future more of these products come in from Kruk, as well as future development, because I don't think they're done yet, not by a long shot. Let me know if y'all got any prayer requests, and we'll see you next time.